Hello, my name is Ernesto Alaniz, pastor of Flint City Church. I sit here with my good friend
Wes from The Rock.
And we come at you twice a month with great biblical content and nonsense. So speaking of nonsense, what do you got for us?
All right, here's what I got. I was thinking about this morning. It came into my head, and I thought,
you're eating Lucky Charms and just popped in there.
Yeah,
huh?
I thought, and we're recording Encore this morning. This is what I'm going to do. So it comes twofold. So I'm going to ask you answer one thing.
I want you to know I have trepidation in my heart every time I sit.
I can see. I can almost see.
I don't know what you're going to do.
I know. All right. So here, it's a lot of pressure. You got to answer one question, and I have a feeling no matter what you say, people are going to have a problem with it. And then I'm going to ask you a follow-up question based on that answer. So here we go. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
So sometimes people are out there. Somebody said the other day, I wish we had something like more like non-something answers or questions, but I think we're a pretty wide range. Maybe they're just not paying attention. But so I'm gonna do that for some people. Here you go. Ready?
I'm ready.
I need the 3 all-time greatest video games ever invented. Not your favorite. The greatest video. I need the Michael Jordan and company of video games. 1, 2, 3. It doesn't have to be in order.
Now, let me ask you a question.
All right.
Is this for video game as like the sometimes
console,
a movie
game console.
a movie will change movies forever? It's like as far as what changes video games or what I deem to be my most favorite.
No, I don't think like what Atari Pitfall is among the, but it's revolutionary, right?
Right.
Like let's not do that. Let's do the greatest games. Like the greatest movies. There's of course whatever, Gone with the Wind or the silent movie that changed motion picture. Let's not do all that. Yeah,
stuff,
let's do the greatest video games. 1,
in
2,
order's
3.
hard.
It
in
doesn't
order
have
is
to be.
okay.
It does not have to be in order. Just give me these 3 are probably it. You're better. You're more in this universe than I am. I have some thoughts, but
okay. I'm balancing my mind. Games that are technically excellent, as well as having a mass market appeal. Like they were out there to a lot of people.
Understood.
People have played these; they know them. My first one's going to feel safe in the land, but I'm going to say it. It's the first Halo that launched with the Xbox when Microsoft came into video games.
Okay.
I think it combined action and storytelling in a way that signaled next generation of graphics and video games. Halo 1 is still being felt today as what's being put out.
All right.
So I'll say that.
Okay, Halo 1. So I kind of agree with that. I'm not a gamer at all, but I agree with that because not being a gamer at all, I've been out of the game since like the 90s, and I've played Halo 1.
Okay, Halo 1.
I've been reeled into it because it was such
and I would say under Halo, like the thing that just lost, I put GoldenEye under Halo 1.
So GoldenEye's on my list.
It's not on mine.
Nintendo
Halo
64.
Takes GoldenEye. For me, Halo takes GoldenEye.
It does. Interesting.
So and they're the same. It's very important. Halo doesn't exist without GoldenEye.
Interesting.
But Halo creates, what do you call it? Multiplayer. Now, GoldenEye had the 4-player on the system in the house. It was huge.
It was amazing.
But Halo did LAN connection. So I remember in college, guys were bringing their TVs in, they Ethernet their system together, and you have 16 guys in one virtual space playing. So you go from 4, almost, you see this reality, you can go infinitely up.
Right.
So I put Halo instead of GoldenEye.
Halo. GoldenEye's on my list.
Okay, I put Halo instead of GoldenEye.
You put it instead of.
Instead of.
Okay, so GoldenEye's not on your
my
list.
list.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so Halo's there.
Still on Halo 1. Let's go.
Okay. It's a hard question. You gotta give a man.
I knew you'd have a problem with it. Let's go.
This, I'm gonna get my head kicked in. You usually don't put new things on.
Gamers are a cult too.
Dude, listen,
someone's coming for you already.
The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. Hold on a second.
Okay.
Nerd alert!
Nerd!
Listen.
Someone needs to knock your books out of your hands right now.
Listen,
okay, come
on.
on.
The Legend of Zelda, though it's not Mario, though it's not in the same zeitgeist, Mario is, their movie came out, and it's the big high school.
So Mario's number 1 on my list.
But which Mario? That's what we get at. Which Mario game?
We'll talk about it.
So I will say that Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild there's a lot of open world gaming, a lot of open world games, but these games are it's like Dungeons and Dragons. You got to be a certain kind of person to even know what that is. Like,
well, we know what kind of person.
Like, not everyone's got a 20-sided die and a dice bag to hold it in.
Oh, my goodness.
So,
let's go.
Breath of the Wild
All right.
brings that open world to the masses.
I feel like you're on trial right now.
I have to give a reason for
Answer the question. Like, dude, it's just a silly game. All right, you've said your piece. Next one.
My next one, this is because, I mean, there's sports, there's so many different genres of video games.
I understand.
I don't know which Madden is the greatest Madden. I don't know, so now Madden is just
I know.
It's just slow. It's like iPhones. They're tweaking the formula every little bit. And they're not revolutionary anymore.
No, right.
So I'm going Breath of the Wild, Zelda. I'm going Halo. So I have a Nintendo and I have an Xbox. And I'm probably going to say, for video games, it might be Mario 64 for me.
Mario 64.
It took Mario from 2D to three-dimensional reality, and again, it let everyone know we have left the side scroller, and we're going to something else.
Yeah,
I think Mario 64. It's incredible. It's an incredible game. I could play it right now and still like it.
Okay, now of these games, start, bench, cut. You can never. It's how you're on a desert island. You got 3 games. You got to throw one away. You got to start, bench, cut these games. Have at it.
You're such a jerk, dude. You just made me list my favorite people in the world. I got to kill one of them now.
I saw you just squint your eyes in hatred. You looked at me like this was a setup. Go. Start, bench, cut.
Zelda starting. Because it just you play it so much and it's just open and
All right.
Who am I cutting?
Well, you're benching.
I'm trying to think. I'm gonna bench. I'm gonna bench Mario and cut the Master Chief.
I knew you would say that. Yeah, that's.
Listen, Mario. He's been a friend for a long time.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
he's part of who we are. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Here comes the hate. I can't wait. It'll be fun.
Okay. So, we received a question through our email. And again, if you have a question,
it's helping us pick
email us at Encore at rockfenton.org. Okay.
No.
Encore at rockfenton.com.
There you go.
And these questions help us as we kind of, and I've received this question from more than one source, and you've got it through the email. The question is, how did we choose the books we now call the Bible?
Right.
The nerd word for this is canon.
Yeah.
Not canon like Napoleon, not 2 ends, but 1. The canon of Scripture is like the standard of Scripture. It's like what books go in. How did we choose the books we now call the Bible? There's a lot of sub-questions under this.
I don't even think we'll be able to dive to the bottom of
but
the well.
But the first question is, how did we choose the books we now call the Bible? For example, in this Bible you have right here before you.
That's right.
How many books are in that Bible?
66.
66 books. So the Bible is really a collection of books. And there was a time when they were not bound together. Like in the book of Acts, when Philip meets that eunuch, the Ethiopian eunuch, he's got a scroll of Isaiah.
Yeah, he's reading Isaiah.
And you see Jesus reading a scroll in the synagogue. And it's probably not even the whole book, probably a section of Isaiah.
Right.
And he reads it and says, today this is fulfilled in your presence. Sorry, it's
amazing.
So this existed in pieces over history.
Not divided by chapters and numbers and headings.
That all comes later.
That's
chapters
that's
and
our
verses.
Organization of it
Helps us find things.
Yes,
okay?
that's it.
So you go back in time, there's no chapters and verses. Back in time, First Kings is one book. So that's one massive scroll.
Right.
So First Kings, First Chronicles, Crowns, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So how did we go from these individual books to this big old bound book? And here's the next question. How many books are in the Catholic Bible?
So what is it, 15 more?
It's 7 more.
It's only 7?
But they add, there's 8 books that have additional material. So it's 7 full new books,
okay.
and then they have like the end of Daniel and.
I see. Okay.
So they have 66 plus 7 is good at math. 73. I don't know, dude. 73.
Are we right about that?
I'm pretty sure it's 7 extra books, dude.
Okay. All right.
You look. I mean,
did you look this up already?
Listen,
I used to know this.
I went to Bible college. I'm so smart. But I think that the old information's still in there.
73.
Dude, sorry. Sometimes it still works.
There are masters in the house. Yes, there is.
So that's kind of weird that our Bible, the Protestant Bible, is different than the Catholic Bible. How'd this happen? So, behind that question, there's a concern, isn't there?
Yeah.
What's the concern?
Is it right? Is something left out? Is it particular to denominations or organizations or Protestant, earthly movements? Like, did we choose the flavor and put others out because we didn't want it there?
Yeah, we're the powerful and wealthy that they smushed the little guy and make their version the only version.
Right.
That's the question. Okay, so let's let me say this. If someone's watching this and they're a seminarian or they're a stinking doctorate,
they're not going to like anything we say.
No, because we're not going deep. We're not going to deep waters. We're not. I'm not going to get here and cut straws. We're talking to normal folk who want real answers.
Just broad brush understanding.
It's exactly what we're doing. Yeah. And listen, if you're watching this, seminarian, and you really want to fight, bring it. I can read what you read, and I can hang with you any way you. If you want to dance. You're dancing with the devil in the pale moonlight. I mean, let's go, baby.
I knew you were going to. I'm like, he's going to say this. I'm going to have to stop it.
I'm saying, if anyone wants to go deep, we can go deep, baby.
You want to get nuts?
Let's get nuts, man.
You have a blast with that. I'm saying, you literally just asked for a fight out there.
I don't want a real fight. I'm saying, no.
You want to fight me? You got my address? What are you talking about?
I don't mean to fight with my fist. I mean, if you want to ask harder questions, we can ask tougher questions. But right now, we're up in the air looking at the forest.
Right.
We're not fighting each tree.
That's right.
Have I studied the trees? Yes. Does it bore the crap out of me? Yes. Okay, so
all right, let's
first,
go.
Old Testament is much easier than New Testament. In the Old Testament, the Jews, we meet the scribes in the New Testament. Mm-hmm. Jesus, he deals with them a lot. They're a group, they're a class. Mm-hmm. The scribes' only job, you know this stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, the scribes, basically, they copied the Old Testament.
They copy us over and over and over and over.
Letter for letter, word for word.
High standard copyists, though.
They destroy an entire scroll if there was a mistake in it.
Yeah.
It's unreal what they did. Mm-hmm. The Old Testament canon, the Jews pretty much said, this is the books God gave us. Mm-hmm. And it was agreed upon by the rabbis pretty early, and it just was agreed upon consensus for a long time.
Sure.
And as Protestants, we go, the Jews said it, they had it, we think they're right. Catholic Church, much later in 1400, they said, well, we're the church, we have true authority on the earth, we should decide what canon is, and they add the new books in. So they add to the Old Testament what the Catholics do. Mm-hmm. And the Protestants were like, well, we're not going to do that.
Now, did they have a standard? The Catholics have a standard by which they added? Something where they're like, you're missing this part, and we think this should be considered for these reasons? The
Catholic Church, and we're broad brushing.
I understand.
Council of Trent, 1400. Mm-hmm. 14, like 12, I don't.
Someone's coming.
They were like, the church has authority. Mm-hmm. And so they're measuring things.
Which they still believe, by the way.
They still believe. The church has the authority. And if the church of Jesus Christ, the Holy Catholic Church, if they look to books as being authoritative, they have the right to say which ones are and are not. So if it's being used to teach, it must be because we recognize its authority. And then in 1400, they add it to the canon.
So I was talking to a Catholic priest one time. I saw him walking across the parking lot. And
you decided to pick a fight?
Not at all. Not at all. I pulled in and I said, can I ask you some questions? And he was super cool. He was a nice guy. And years later, we did a funeral together. It was crazy. But he goes, sure. And so I talked to this guy for like an hour. I kept saying, like, if you have to go, like, I get it. and I was like interviewing this guy, and we got talking about purgatory. And I'm like, do you have a problem? Like, is it a red flag to you that this is not really alluded to when Jesus explains the afterlife in the scripture? It's very immediate, and I said some things. I'm like, I'm here to listen. And so he goes to the Maccabees. Yeah. He's like, well, the reason you think that is because you don't have Maccabees.
But it's second Maccabees, is it not even first?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
the first Maccabees, Martin Luther was
talking
like
about praying for the dead or something.
Yeah.
He goes, we appeal for the dead. He goes, that's because you cut the Maccabees, and I was like, oh. But it was great. Anyway, there it is. Yeah. So
So the Apocrypha, I have a book right here, this black book, the Apocrypha. The Apocrypha, it is the 7 books.
Okay.
And you can buy it,
The King James version of the Apocrypha.
Dang straight.
Uh-oh.
King James only, guys. What do you do now?
What you
gonna do?
Oh, that's a good question, though. This is things people miss. Like where? Oh shoot. 1611 only.
Guess not. Minus that.
Guess not.
1611. Don't look behind the curtain, everybody.
Pay no attention to those 7 books behind the curtain in the 1611.
Anyways,
in English, you can't understand.
So there are extra books back then, like First and Maccabees. Martin Luther said about First Maccabees that it was a great book of history that he looked to understand what happened between Malachi and Matthew.
I'm going to go on record. I think that.
Second Maccabees is crazy.
I think
First Maccabees is great. Second Maccabees goes nuts.
Yep.
So these books, as a Christian, I can read them and see, okay, I can see what's going on. Now, First Maccabees, a lot of Jewish scholars say this is a great history of what happened in the revolt against, Rome. But a lot of the books, the Jews, were like, these are crazy. Like some of the Jews have a lot of extra books, okay? Because there's books besides the Apocrypha. They're called the Pseudepigrapha. What a great name is that. Look how many books are there, dude. Look how big those books are.
Pseudepigrapha.
It sounds like some kind of like new bacon, but it's like fake bacon. This is pseudepigrapha.
Like from a pseudo pig or something. This isn't real bacon.
So stupid.
Turkey bacon.
Have you ever had it?
Turkey bacon?
It's not
Thumbs
good.
down,
okay.
Dude.
Have you ever heard of Lilith?
Yeah, in Genesis.
So the Jews have
the other wife of Adam.
The other way. So the Jews, they have the Bible. They have the books of Moses, the writings, the prophets, and they're like, but what if he made somebody else back in the garden? And it's a very feminist myth. Like the first woman that God makes is rebels against Adam's authority.
Yeah.
And she's kind of like and they have to cast her out and they make a nice, beautiful woman, Eve. And so a lot of feminists take the Lilith Fair. The Lilith Fair is saying we want to be like Lilith, who overthrew Adam and the Lord God.
I understand.
Of heaven. Yeah. So there's Jewish myth, and these books, the Jewish rabbis realized, they said very, very quickly and consistently, these are ridiculous things.
This is crazy, yeah.
Like this, and this is written way later, and the guy who wrote it, no one likes that guy anyway. Like it's like So Old Testament's real easy.
Okay, but give a synopsis of it. Like
the 39 books, they're God's books. And it's been agreed upon for thousands of years.
Yeah, why? So there's something to be said of consistency of
history
and what do you say? Mass amounts of documents that affirm these same books, the same narrative, these same stories and events. Like and then all of a sudden from left field, one document from out of nowhere comes in. It's like, what about Lilith or something? But maybe speak to that.
Okay, the books of Moses in Numbers. They talk about Moses writing it down. So we see it being recorded as it's happening. Yeah. So the first 5 books of Moses, they get bound quickly, and we see them being read in the Kingdom of Israel. Yeah. So that we know those 5 books very quickly.
Still today.
It's there.
They refer to Moses even now.
The writings, I mean, in the Kingdom of Israel, under David and Solomon's leadership, poetry is written, songs are written, and the Jewish people, like, these are touched by God. They realized this, and they collected it all together. And the prophets, which include the historical books like Joshua, Judges, and all those guys, are the writing prophets, they saw God was very special in these books, and they recognized this and were grateful for that voice. So this has been agreed upon for a long time. The Jewish canon, 39 books, like I said, we're pretty. It's on good foundation that these books are the books.
Yeah. Okay.
The ones that are extra aren't very trustworthy.
Right. It doesn't even mean they're historically wrong, but some stuff's crazy, but some of them, for example, some of the stuff in the Apocrypha might be historically accurate in places.
And there are books quoted in the Old Testament that we don't have anymore.
Right.
They're just gone. And that's because the Jews, I guess, didn't think this book needed to be preserved. They thought this book of history, like the book of wars, it's referred to in 1 Kings, apparently like this is a cool book about, armies and maneuvers, but it's not. Yeah. It's not God speaking to us and giving us, revealing himself to us. They didn't preserve it. Yeah. The book of wars, even Enoch.
This is the most. I would say this is probably the most common one.
Because Jude refers to Enoch.
Yeah, right.
And he quotes the craziest verse of Enoch, and he's like, Michael, when he's fighting the devil for the body of Moses, you're like, what the tar are you talking about? Like, what is going on?
I know. Yeah.
But we don't have that whole thing. Like, apparently back then they had pieces of it, but apparently back, the Jews had pieces of this work of Enoch, but it wasn't part of the canon even to them. Mm-hmm. And so we trust history. We trust the Lord in preserving his word. A lot of these things.
Yeah, that's comes to the end of the matter. We'll get there. Yeah.
Now, New Testament's a different story.
Okay.
There's no scribes for the New Testament church. Okay, you don't have this temple that's protected, and there's educated people writing down letter per letter, hundreds of them every day. That's not happening.
Yeah.
The church very quickly around AD 70 is on the run. Rome is blaming them for when Rome burns, the Christians get blamed. Everyone, the Jews hate him, the Greeks hate him, the Romans hate him.
Yep.
They're on the run, and they're writing these things on the run. And some of these guys are not educated. They're just copying what they can. We have, you can go back to about 100, like 100.
AD 100.
AD 100. Mm-hmm. So Irenaeus and Hippolyta, I think his name is. It's spelled funny. I can't say it. But these guys, like Irenaeus, I think is one generation from John. Like Irenaeus' mentor served with that's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
That's nuts, dude.
Like, John used to say this. Are you serious?
Like my teacher told me that John said, because that was his teacher.
Yes.
Like because John was the only guy that gets old. Is John, everyone else dies early. John becomes an old man. But Irenaeus, he affirmed 22 of the New Testament books.
Of the 27.
Of the 27. We have the Gospels that God gave us. We have the epistles of Paul. Mm-hmm. He's right. We have the Acts from, we have all. So you see very quickly the Christians are saying, we have books God gave us. Mm-hmm. It's not finalized till like 400.
Okay. All 27?
All 27.
Okay.
It's finalized at one of the councils, because the church has councils too. Mm-hmm. The Protestant churches,
You're saying that
the church. You're
saying
the universal church, pre-Roman Catholic.
Yeah. Okay.
Before Rome takes it over, it is something else, and they agree on we have these books, and they ask questions like, did an apostle write it? Has it been?
So there were measurable standards, like it must pass through this gate, then this gate,
and it's not that firm. Because Hebrews is all weird. Hebrews is like, who wrote that?
So what were you saying?
So they're looking at like things.
Did an apostle write it?
That's a big deal. If an apostle wrote it, that's going to lend it towards being part of the books we trust. Mm-hmm. So did the apostles write it? Has the church recognize it as authoritative? So they go back to Irenaeus. They go back to all these guys, Tertullian, all these dudes. They try to go as far as they can. Who said what was what?
Okay.
So they looked at history. They looked to the past. And 27 is what they kind of agree on. Now, the reason it's so crazy is because coming out right now, there's a lot of new books people are putting out.
Mm-hmm. Talking about now.
Now.
Yeah.
There was a movie called The Da Vinci Code that came out.
Yeah. Remember when we almost got kicked out of that movie? We were laughing too loud.
Tom Hanks didn't make a bad movie for 20 years.
Yeah, that's right.
until the Da Vinci Code.
And we're not saying that because we disagree with the premise of the movie.
I like the great, and that's the atheist thinking national
exactly.
anthem.
I can like, yes, it is, exactly.
Like, if your movie's a philosophy piece, if it's good, I'll like it.
Exactly.
Da Vinci Code was a piece of garbage.
It's a terrible movie, and the second one is worse than the first.
Dude, when the Pope is on the helicopter and it blows behind him, and the Pope's on a
parachute.
Yeah, it's like a comedy sketch.
We were laughing. People were mad. Go. All right. So anyway, but the Da Vinci Code has a statement that it's making.
Da Vinci Code is a fiction. Okay,
Yeah.
But Christians were so ignorant to how we got our Bible. When the Da Vinci Code says the church kept books out on purpose, they're like, did that happen?
This is a good point.
And so people freaked out.
Yeah, they did.
I have people come to me like, did the church, did this, old people in robes, did they keep some books out?
What do they call those guys? Was that the Knights
Illuminati?
Templar?
The Knights, all that stuff. Was that the stinking? Who's the guy? That's the Statue of Liberty guys with the eyeballs.
The Freemasons.
Was it the Freemasons that they massaged the canon?
Right.
So then there's a movie called Stigmata, a much smaller film.
Mm-hmm.
That's a horror film. And
none of these are a recommendation. These are just speaking to
cultural realities.
Very Catholic, though.
And Stigmata, the movie ends. Okay, it's a horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
But it ends, and the text over the screen says, the Catholic Church has books in their vaults they will not let us see so they can control the narrative of Jesus' life. And it says, like the Gospel of Thomas. And I remember laughing out loud. I'm in my living room, I'm just laughing. It's like, dude, that's crazy. I'm like, it's not true. Like, what do you mean not true? I went to my shelf, pulled the Gospel of Thomas off my shelf. It's like, it's not in a Catholic vault. It's at Barnes & Noble's for $11.95. Like, no one's hiding it. Anyone can, like I have 4 copies of it at my stinking office right now. It's not hard to find.
Right.
There's the Gospel of Judas, the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, the Gospel of Judas, Mary Magdalene, Thomas. And the New Testament, people that lived back then, it was written much later. And I don't want to go too deep into stuff, but if you had a new philosophy and you wanted that philosophy to be embraced, one way to do that was to state your philosophy and put your words in the mouth of someone famous, because that gives it credibility.
Okay.
So if I were to play about Jesus and devil talking on a beach, and I put my philosophy into Jesus' words, that's a way to say, Jesus is saying this.
Yeah. So
it's not the scripture, but I'm putting he's on my team.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, pastors do this right now from the pulpit.
So Thomas and Judas and Mary Magdalene, no credible scholar thinks these things date anywhere near Christ.
So the dates are far away.
They're like generations later.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, and they're obviously propaganda pieces. There's someone trying to sell, whether it's Gnosticism or something, they're trying to push their new ideas.
So are they doctrinally? Is there a great gulf fixed as well? They're doctrinally.
And Thomas, Jesus is a bully. He's like 12 years old on the playground. He's like showing off for a girl, brings a bird back to life. Bada bada bing! Like, it's so stupid, dude. It's unreal, dude.
I've heard this.
Jesus, like, it's the Wonder Years Jesus edition. It's so stupid. The Gospel of Thomas should be read for devotional. It should be read as, if I were to play about the Gospel of Thomas, you can eat popcorn and laugh at it the whole time. It's that ridiculous.
So, all right, characteristically, doctrinally, time-wise, they're way far away.
It's interesting if you want to know what the Gnostics believe. If you're interested in, like, what happened to
the Gnostics are who?
They're just a group that believe in, like, special, like, hidden knowledge only they possess.
So the movie Noah, which is an abomination to all things in the Noah story, is alluding to this, yes?
Right. It's a Gnostic
it's
telling
not
of the
about
gospel.
Noah in the Bible. People watch it, they're like, man, I went to that Noah movie and I was confused. There were the rock people and they came, like, that's that in the Bible? This had nothing to do with the Bible.
And when, what is it, Tubal, what's his name?
I can't
Ben
remember.
Tubal, he hid on the boat the whole time. It was crazy.
Yeah, I know. And he
turned Noah's son against him. That was nuts.
It was really bad. But it came from somewhere. It wasn't out of a vacuum, and people didn't know that.
Gnosticism is a very powerful thing that comes around after Christ, and even Jewish scriptures could be reinterpreted through that lens.
Yes.
And so Noah was taking, like, the Gnostic interpretation of the story of Noah.
Yes.
So that comes from history.
So you're like, oh, this is accurate because there's an allusion to the Garden of Eden and the serpent, but it's not. Like, it is and it isn't. And it was really deceptive, and people are still confused by that movie.
I mean, if you want to watch a good Noah movie, watch the TV one with Angelina Jolie's dad. What's that guy's name?
John Voight?
John Voight.
I've never seen this movie.
You're kidding.
No,
it was a 2-part ABC miniseries. a giant octopus attacks the ark. That's after the pirates come and start jumping on the ark from under the boat.
Are you kidding me?
It's incredible, dude. And that one might be more true than the Darren Aronofsky one.
Yes.
Anyway.
Okay,
so all that to say, there is not, can I say it this way? Historically speaking, there is controversy over the canon of the New Testament.
Yep.
There are arguments. Some guys like Hebrews shouldn't be here.
Mm-hmm. James.
People fight over James. Some people say 2nd and 3rd John shouldn't be in. Everyone said 1 John. 2nd and 3rd John, people were like, there's nothing in it. Like, it's so short. Why even put it in there? Like, so there's a lot. There's discussions at these councils. There's disagreements. You can read guys who disagreed with the decision. But they came to pick 27 books.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there are. The question we ask, is the church hiding some books from the masses? No, that's not happening. Those books are available. Anyone wants to read. If you want to go find a boring book or a ridiculous book and read it, you can go buy it online on Amazon right now.
Yeah.
But it's so, in 400, the New Testament canon's agreed upon, and it holds firm for at least 1,000 years until the Catholics adds.
1,000 years. That's so long if people think about that.
1,000 years until Trent, they're like, Bell and the Dragon? I'm not trying to be too. I'm sorry.
No, I understand though.
Let me back it up. Our Catholic brothers, beloved.
They are.
It's a big move to say those Jews are wrong for a couple thousand years, and we got it where they don't. So that now, if you want to read more on this, there's a book here. It's big. It's not thin. This is like 300 pages.
Okay.
This is going to dive deep into questions of canonicity, transmission, preservation.
Say it for a radio listener.
A General Introduction to the Bible by David Ewart. Okay?
E-W-E-R-T, David Ewart, A General Introduction to the Bible.
If you want to go deeper, and this is not even the deepest you can go, but this is a good overview of a lot of things. This has a really good, what do you call that? Footnotes, endnotes. They have a lot of sources they refer to.
All right, great.
So you can go deep if you want in this stuff. Our point is this. So question 4, can we trust the Bible we have as the Bible God intended us to have?
Here's the thing. There's a lot of research, there's a lot of reading, there's a lot of historical information that we can gather as to how this happened. In the end, we will all come to the cliff of faith and choose to believe as we see it play out in our life, as we see whether or not the Word of God is living and active as it describes, to believe that this is the living, validated by history, fulfilled prophecy, changed hearts of men, Word of God. You're not going to get the final card that's thrown on the table on an earthly level that goes, this seals it. Just like the resurrection. Like, there's all sorts of eyewitnesses.
I can't
history.
checkmate the canon.
I wasn't at the tomb, man. I wasn't there. So, like, I believe it as I walk across the cliff of faith, and I do that with the Word of God. And I have a lot of earthly evidence to back it up, as well as miraculous evidence right in front of my face as I watch the power of God work through the Word. But the answer is yes. But everyone's going to have to come to that answer on their own. The answer is yes, you can trust it, and it is the Word of God. And people as powerful as Hitler and others have tried to destroy it, and it mysteriously will not go away. All technology, all education, all internet and progressive ideologies have tried to undermine, tear it down, attack it, and it will not budge. That in and of itself is odd to me. That's something that is compelling.
I will say, as everything you said is incredible. I will say, even from a literary perspective, 66 books. Okay, the Jewish canon, bound in one volume.
Go on this.
The fact that themes line up.
Yes.
So, you watch resolution happen.
It's unreal.
2,000 years later to themes that were introduced
by someone else.
By Moses.
Yes.
In the wilderness.
I'm telling you,
unreal.
It's impossible. I say it's impossible. No one could ever have done that.
So I want to be a writer someday. I wrote a book once. I brought it to an editor. My editor told me. That's what my editor told me. He goes, Ernesto, he said, when I came to meet the editor, he said, bring your manuscript and some Kleenex. That's what he said. I show up, and the editor goes, the book's fine. You're just missing themes, characters, and structure. And I thought to myself, like, isn't that what books are? Like, dude, but they have it in this. Like, multiple authors, kings and peasants.
No, it's unreal. I mean, we could talk about this all day long, about where it goes and when it's fulfilled and how it's fulfilled, the allegory and allusions from thousands of years to fulfilled later.
Dude, from Genesis 1, Revelation, I mean, it's unreal.
Yes, the fact that Noah they were looking for a redeemer to come, this is all there.
Perhaps my son will be the one.
Oh, my goodness. It's impossible for this to happen.
The themes are if you just follow them. You just trace them through multiple authors. I mean, J.K. Rowling in her book of Harry Potter had to change because she was going because she's like, I didn't think I wanted to do this. So there's like stuff in book 1 that in book 3.
You're talking about one author in one lifetime.
And this is 24 authors over 2,000 years or more. Unreal.
I agree.
Also, I always thought I would defend the canon against those outside the church. But nowadays, there's a lot of people within the church.
A lot of
people want to throw away Paul. A lot of people don't like Paul because Paul... he actually applies the stuff. He's like, here's structure, here's authority, here's stuff. And people don't like structure nor authority in our current cultural moment.
Right.
And people want to throw Paul out. But, dude, you go back to the year 100, and they're saying Paul's epistles are from the Lord. Like, everyone agrees to the disciples of John. Like, it's hard to throw them out. The canon we have is trustworthy. So this is a very...
It's a broad brush. But you've given somebody that wants to dive down the well, you've given them a way to do it.
And listen, I don't really have time to fight every comer that comes, okay?
Well, it sounded like you did.
I live up in the city of Flint. I come to Fenton only once in a while for my friend. If you didn't tell me to come, I wouldn't come.
Talking about a backpedal.
Backpedal like a mug. Just because I can doesn't mean I want to, okay?
It sure sounded like it.
I was mouthing off. Dude. Listen, I'd rather go sneak and use a chainsaw than debate over coffee. Because most debaters, they don't want to. They just want to talk.
Want to hear themselves talk.
Just that.
Well, I mean, you said it. I didn't invite anybody.
Listen, Wes is your shepherd here at the Rock Church. You should call him and ask for coffee.
Mm-hmm. And I got if it's about this FWD Ernesto at Flint City something
.org.
Wrap it up. We've been here all day.
If you have any questions, you can email us at encore@rockfenton.com.
That's right.
Other than that, grace and peace. God bless you.